One of the key things for me was finding people that love human beings first. And then, that has to come first before even the industry comes in to play and what's actually going on in the industry right now. And so, when I selected you and yourself and Gay, that was really clear to me. I just thought, yeah, I didn't even have to think about it. But I think it'd be lovely to hear from you, for you, what is it like? Because you hear so many things and from people, that are having their own experiences in business. But how is it for you in the industry right now in Australia? Because I know that there's a lot of things that are coming up to be looked at, especially in the skin, in the dermal industry. And I just had my little thought about the lobbyists going to the government from the cosmetic companies and the plastic surgeons. I'm thinking, are they at it again? What's going on? Yeah. So how is it for you, Gry, really, when you're seeing what sort of education people are choosing, how they choose education in the beauty industry, because that's a really big thing for us, obviously, with TrueBrow. How are you sort of seeing all of that? I'd love to hear from you.
I think a lot of people are a little bit confused right now. And I think from what I'm seeing from my team, a lot of people have been doing, their therapists have been doing skin and lasers and all the rest of it for 10, 15 plus years. And now all of a sudden, they're being told that perhaps they can't do it anymore. And I think that's really, I think that's rattled a lot of people. And I think there's a little bit of fear out there at the moment. And I sort of try to put it into perspective that, this is the right move, I think. I think it's the right move to separate the industry in terms of qualifications and in terms of, the levels of experience and expertise. But there has to be some kind of test, as in there has to be some kind of recognition of prior learning or something like that that would take, these hundreds of thousands of women and men, like me, who don't have a dermal background, but who have been treating skin and are skin obsessed and have been doing every masterclass available for the last 20 odd years, 30 years.
So it sort of sounds to me like, what's actually happened is one of two things that have happened. Because we know when we're dealing with the government that they don't move in a particular way unless someone's, they're getting it. Something's occurring within another industry. Like I know this actually happened probably about 30 years ago. It happened with plastic surgeons and cosmetic surgeons coming in to start doing peels, glycolic peels, and recognizing really, wow, there's so much money in this. And I'm not really afraid to say these things. I think they should be spoken. They should be put out there into the world so the world can sort through it. But, it does to me when I heard it, the first thing I thought of, and I'm not saying that I'm right, but the first thing that I thought of is, wow, who's lobbying who? What is actually going on here? Because we're dealing with an industry that is like, there's so much money in this industry. And unfortunately, we don't live in a world that, as I said before, puts humans first. Now, there is the other side of it, which the industry has become so unregulated in some states, so unregulated that we do need the regulation. But, what is the intention behind it and how are we going to work our way through that to actually find our way? So I feel extremely sad. And this is not the first time I've heard this. This happened in the States, in particular states of America. This actually happened.
California.
Yeah. People were contacting me going, Al, I can't do my work. Can I come in and do TrueBrow? Because, I need to find something that I can specialize in. And, we would have our chats because they were just like wiped, like truly their businesses were completely wiped. So, we don't know that this is we don't necessarily know this is going to happen in Australia, do we? It's just a conversation right now, really.
I think the writing is on the wall. I think it will happen, especially seeing what's happened to the nursing industry and the cosmetic doctors and things like that. I think government's definitely trying to regulate things and trying to backpedal a little bit to sort of catch up. And I think it's making them make some, potential moves that aren't necessarily in the best interest of the public, which is really sad. And I think, looking at looking at our teams who are incredibly passionate, I think there has been a shift away from the kind of dedication to education that I think I had,
Yeah.
and what is now happening. So I think, like everything, it's a pendulum, and I think it's sort of gone one way and now it's going the complete opposite way. And we've got to sort of come back to the middle a little bit to understand, okay, there's a lot of people out there who are treating skin and who are really passionate, who've done a whole bunch of training, not necessarily recognized,
Hmm.
but have the knowledge to run rings around half of the therapists that are graduating with the dermal degree right now. And
Hmm.
I think that's like, I think there is definitely regulation needed, but what kind of regulation and how far do we swing? That's the question.
Hmm. It's very interesting, isn't it? And it's like, how would that affect, for example, your business if this was passed, for example? What would happen?
Yeah, so it's interesting. We just hired a therapist from New Zealand, and literally the first week she got here, we hired her. It took about a month and a half for her to move over here for the job, and she started. And the first week that she got over here, she was like, "Oh my God, I made this whole move, and now they're talking about regulating the industry, so now I have to go back to school and study." And I was like, "Settle down,
Yeah, has
settle down.
hmm.
It'll be okay. Like we've got some time to figure this out." And I think the sad thing is like as a business, we've hired both the, very experienced dermal clinicians. We've hired the newly graduated dermal clinicians. We've hired the beauty therapists who have been fresh out of school, and beauty therapists who have been in the industry for a very long time. So we've hired people across the whole cross section. I gotta tell you, sometimes it's a bit of potluck. Sometimes it's a bit of, huh, okay, well, you're a beauty therapist and you've got 10 years of experience treating skin, and you can run rings around this person who's coming out with a dermal degree and can't tell me what the layers of the skin is.
Hmm.
And so I think there's a problem. I think there's a gap in the education system as well. I think it's now become about the money and how many people can we sign up, and how many people, the kind of cutting corners every step of the way to gather more people to do the courses. And that's not a good thing. And
Yeah.
so I think it's like a revolving door. I think they're creating their own problem a little bit.
Hmm. On one, and how much do you actually think, Gry, there is some sort of lobbying from cosmetic surgeons and
Mhm.
the medical? What's your opinion about that?
Yeah, I think you're dead on. I think there's a lot of lobbying going on. I think there's, if you look at our industry between now and say even 5 years ago, go back to just before COVID, there has been such an enormous shift, even from back then till now. It's almost impossible for us now to refer clients to a dermatologist or a cosmetic doctor or cosmetic nurse, because everybody does exactly what we do, plus they do then injectables and things like that. So it's really, really hard, and it's sad because we have so many amazing clients who would benefit from people's skills in other fields, dermatologists, cosmetic doctors, cosmetic nurses, but we've got no one to refer them to anymore, because that would be like saying goodbye to our clients.
Yeah, incredible, isn't it? It really is like it's a huge marker if you think about it, about it's a huge marker for an industry that is just so profitable.
Mm-hmm.
And
But I would say, just on that, I gotta say, I think our industry is getting less and less profitable by the minute as we go on. I mean, I coach about 15 business owners, and I'm going to tell you, in all different areas of the world, in all different demographics, the profitability, and I think this is what's happening across the board, is the profitability is going down. Wages, there's a wage war going on, so we're paying, like, the wages are out of control at the moment. I've never seen anything like it. Wages are out of control. Cost of goods are getting much higher. We're getting taxed in Victoria. We are getting taxed for all kinds of weird and wonderful things like COVID lockdown, excess tax, whatever it's called. And like we're getting all of these taxes. Work cover has gone up double in Victoria. There's so many pressures on business owners, and I think this is part of what's happening right now, is like there is this clamor for a piece of the pie. And so I think, like, for a business owner who's a dermatologist or or an injector, it's like this is easy money. We can just capture more of the market. So a lot of little people get left behind, and I think that is really dangerous and really sad, because it's becoming a bit of a monopoly. And I don't think I've ever seen so many people go bust in such a small amount of time.
Yeah, that's sounding quite serious, isn't it? I think if I go back, I mean, skin for me was one of my loves before brows, and I didn't really ask for brows, that just happened. But it's like, all right, come on now, you're gonna pivot. It's like, what?
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
actually at that point we had our own skincare line. It was beautiful. Oh my gosh, and we still went on with that for a little while, but they just got too much. We couldn't do everything. But I honestly, skin is my love, it still is. And I never veered into machinery really. I stayed so traditional because I loved it so much. And I really think that maybe that's something that we need to revisit. And also, when you're looking at product lines for a salon are a huge expense. Sure, they make salon owners money, but I think maybe this is an opportunity. Like we have, say, for example, our dispensary course, and our girls are actually making their own products. Because I used to do that in my salon. I refused to bring in a product line. And
Wow.
my profit margins were so high. And I survived huge crises that were happening. But maybe this is an opportunity for the salon owner to think outside of the box a little bit. And I'm not talking about private label, because again, I'm not talking about that. I'm actually talking about something where you're developing something so unique for your clients, that they're not going to shut that down. How long is it going to take them to go shut that down for people not being able to do that? And that's what I did. I had my body oils, I had my beautiful skincare. There was such a high profit margin in that for me, because I pushed out, sorry, product companies, about that. I just wasn't prepared to be giving that much money. And especially, this happened to me in my 20s, really. First up, and I remember one of the companies I was selling the most in the whole world, in the whole, actually, of Australia, sorry, the whole of Australia. I was by myself in my little salon. I was 23 years old, and I was just blitzing it because I loved it, and I wanted to sell it, and I was good at it, and people trusted me. All surprises to me, by the way, because I just didn't even think of myself like that at all. I was like, what's happening? Oh my God, I'll just keep going. Okay, this was working. But really, the day that rep came to me and I said to him, vitamin A had just come in. This is how far back this is. I'm old. It's a long time ago. So vitamin A had just come back in, and come into the, like these are pharmaceutical, research, and then they give it to the skincare companies, right? So anyway, vitamin A come in, let's put it topically, blah, blah, blah. And I remember there was a cream and there was a whole stand you bought, connected to this product line. And I remember saying to the rep, so what's in it? Like, what's this? They had this like formula complex thing on the back. And I said, but but what's in it? And she said, oh, it's a secret formula. And I thought, oh, you've just lost me. I thought, okay. I said, no. I said, you either tell me what's in it, so for my clients, or I'm not buying it. I'm not going to buy the secret formula thing. I'm not interested. I want to know what's in it, because something had happened to me, Gry. It was an interesting time. I think I might have been pregnant. I think it was a time when I was changing. And I so loved my clients. I just never wanted to give them anything that just wasn't right, or that I could do something that wasn't of service to them. And so I started asking more and more questions. And in the end, I thought, well, I don't even want to sell this thing. She's telling me she's not going to tell me what's in it. How am I going to go how am I going to go to my client and say, look, it's a secret, but you should use it. Anyway, so so that was the end for me. I was like, by that stage, I was growing internally, and I was thinking, hang on a minute, what can I do? How can I bring something for my clients that was beautiful? And I went and I found these amazing Italian herbalists, and I started dabbling in them supporting me with things. And anyway, that was so long ago. But later on, when I went back into the industry, because I'd already done that, my mind was already in that. Creating my own dispensary was really finding the right people and knowing what I wanted for the skin of my clients. And then, of course, we had Living Skincare, which came in later, which was just remarkable. But this could be such an opportunity for beauty professionals that are in business. They bring in a dispensary side of things that there are amazing people in Australia. Like I could give you amazing names of people that could do such incredible things for skin, and they just go back to what is so pure and true and good for the skin. And what is it that we do for women? Like when you really think about it, if someone wants to be in the beauty industry, if you want to do dermal work and you want to use machines, then do that. Then go and study and do it. No one can take your power away from you, And if your business is not being profitable, I would suggest have a look at looking outside the box. Because we don't want these businesses shutting down. We don't want them closing their doors or thinking, my gosh, there is no other way. Because I actually think there is. And when COVID hit, we actually launched the Elle Wilson dispensary course, and we've got so many girls that have got these unbelievable product lines. The thing is, you can't just go out and just do a private label and just push it. What's the point of that? That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying get your own label and make more profit. I'm saying, give your client rituals, give them things that are that's what I did. I actually really went into other ways of thought, the Ayurvedic way of thinking. And I just went everywhere, and I just looked, and I thought, what could I bring to give women that's just not mainstream? They're not going to find it in the chemist. They're not going to find it in another salon. And it really did work for me. And sorry to, as I said before, to all the product companies, but I didn't need them. I didn't need them to have such a highly profitable business. And it really, if you think you need them, well, then you're going to be in a situation where you're going to have to be, working in that way. But I think we have to start thinking differently.
I think,
if this happens.
I think what you're saying, what you're really touching on is the difference between adding value and cutting the value. So it's, I think what happens quite often is like people cut their own value, and they're like, this is all I can do in terms of my pricing strategy. This is all I can, do. Otherwise, people won't be able to afford coming here, or, like this is the ceiling right here. And I'm like, but is it though? I think what you got to think of instead is how can you add more perceived value for your clients? How can you add that extra layer that makes your client go, you know what? I don't care how much this costs. I'm there.
Yeah.
I am 100% there. I can't live without this facial, or I can't live without this dermal clinician who is helping me get clear skin. I think I went to New York a few months ago, and I had a $1,200 facial. because I was like, you know what? I want to see what a $1,200 facial is all
Yeah.
about. And
How was it?
I look, it was beautiful, but my friend up here on the coast gives me a much better facial,
Yeah, mate.
and it's
Mhm.
$275.
Yeah. Mhm.
So there is I think there's a little bit of lack of education as well around, I think, creating the experience
Mhm.
and creating the point of difference that people are attracted to and will see the value in.
Mhm.
And I think so many people just sell themselves short.
Yeah,
You know,
agree.
it's not about the cheapest price, it's about what can you add? How
Mm.
can you elevate this experience even more so that your clients can't live without you?
You know
It's
what I
really,
used
and
to,
yeah.
yeah, I completely agree. And one of the things I'm remembering now, it's all coming, you know how they say it's all coming back to me now, but I remember my clients before they would exit, they rebook their next facial. And before they would exit, many of them would be calling their girlfriends, telling them, oh my gosh, you got to go and book with Al and her team. That to me was like, I remember the first time that happened, I thought, oh wow, that's amazing. But our facials were not normal. We put everything into that time, that what you were just saying, that experience, that they were just looking forward to it. They were talking about it. And I think that we have to think like that. And we shouldn't be afraid. I mean, fear is not going to get you anywhere, really, is it? I mean, I think we need to become innovative, and we need to maybe even create some conferences, or even if they're online, and talk about what are the other opportunities that we can do as beauty professionals. How do we go back to our core values and our core skills? Why did we go into this industry for? Did we go in just to use machinery? Or really, what is if they push us all the way back? How can we rise up in that space? Because we've done it before. And people might say, oh, but there's been progress and people can have this and they can have that. But, it's obvious they're going to take that away. It looks like they could very well take that away. Does that mean they take away your power to succeed? I don't believe it does. I think,
Oh,
and I think that the more that we sort of dive into and feel bad and think, why has this happened? This world does everything to us that, I mean, we know that, right? We know where we are.
yeah.
And,
You know what? I think you're so onto it, because I have perfect example. I have one of my coaching clients who is in the country, small country town. When we started working together, it was, oh, we need to move away from beauty and just do skin. And I was like, mm, let's see, let's just like work our way through it and see how it goes. And what we did instead was we made sure that the skin treatments that they do are top notch and they're done by skin specialists. And then their beauty specialists are specialists in that. And then their massage, therapists are specialists in that. And what they've done is withstand this downturn in the economy like no
beautiful.
tomorrow.
Mm.
They've doubled their revenue without putting more staff on. So I'm like, I think that I think that a lot of people think, well, we just have to do what everybody else does. We just have to get this machine, get that machine, get this brand. It's not about that. It's just not about that. It's about doing what you're damn good at and
Yeah.
just honing in on that and creating the best possible service around that. And I
Mm.
think that is what, like, I don't know about you, but can you find a waxing specialist anywhere?
Oh, look,
Can't.
I don't even go. I'm sorry. Like for me, I travel the world. And
Yeah.
you know what? I wax my own legs. Like I'm so fussy
Yep. Of
because, like,
course.
as far as I'm concerned, I just walk in. If I walk in somewhere, I get my nails done, as you can tell. But I walk in, and the minute I see a wax pot, I've made my decision. The minute that this is what we have to really understand in the beauty industry. Like I go
Yep.
in and I just look at I'm making decisions continuously as
Yep.
to what I'm going, even to have a facial, that's a really big deal for me. To go lie down on a treatment bed and be sure the towels are clean, that I need to have like a full-on recommendation. And these are the things that beauty salon owners probably don't really think about anymore. Like what is the even sharing with the public? There are people like me that are so discerning, and they're the ones that are going to pay you the big bucks, right? Probably that want to know, how do you take care of your linen? What are you like? That's a fantastic reel. That's a fantastic little story. When you come, you're lying on fresh sheets and towels and like I want to know that stuff. If I had someone saying that to me and I was looking, I'm thinking, wow, that's amazing. Like I feel really good about going there. But what you said before, coming back to the we want to do just skin. This is where we really, I mean, I love niching, as you know. Brows is a huge thing for us. And we have salons around the world that just do brows and have like wait lists that are so off the charts. It's insane. Like my daughter had a 400 people wait list. People from California were on her wait list to fly to Canada to get their brows done. It's unheard of. I don't think there's ever been a bigger wait list in the world for brows. And it's not just her. It happens all the time. But when you're a beauty professional and they're taking something from you, you might have to feel like you're going backwards, but you're actually really not. So niches are fine, but you don't want to give up the stuff that, as you were saying, Gry, which I really loved, that you're really, really good at. And you don't want to have to give up. It doesn't have to be that, oh my gosh, this is so terrible. Doesn't have to
No.
be like that. And I think that in this world, we're always going to be challenged by things, by feeling disempowered, but we can feel totally empowered in that. And we don't have to think like that. We don't have to let in, it's obvious. An industry like ours is up for grabs. So much money in it, right? So it's kind of like, well, why not? Let's go in there and it'll all be under the whole thing of regulations. And in some aspects, we've done it to ourselves because we're so unregulated. And product companies have given products to people that haven't even in some states that's happening, isn't it? I was shocked when I heard that. I got to tell you, when I first heard that, I couldn't even believe it. When someone said it to me, I said, "What are you talking?" And this was one of my brow students. I said to her, because we had to deal with people coming to do brows with us that had no qualifications. And at one point, I said to Toby, "Not doing it. They're not qualified. They don't get to." And then what I was seeing is that a lot of them were going and working on clients that had done a one-day course or gone and done microblading for 5 days. And they were working on people's faces, and I said to Toby, "We can't do that." I said, "We're going to have to grab them. We're going to have to bring them in, and we're going to have to teach them properly because they're going to do some real damage out there." So I opened my daughter, and then I was finding that they were doing skincare. They had these like professional skincare. And I remember saying, "Oh, did you go and do your training?" "Oh, no. I can do." And I thought, see, so in a way, we've done it. The beauty industry's got to take accountability.
I
That's,
agree.
that's unacceptable. Like if you're going to go and give a skincare line that's a professional skincare line, you're going to go give it to anyone just because you can give them product knowledge. Well, then, at some point, there's going to be a reason that they're going to be able to take something off you. It's a shame. It really is a shame. So I think in a way the regulations are important. Look, another thing I want to talk about, because this is like huge, this the whole thing that we're speaking about, is for me, I've been transitioning TrueBrow for the last 3 years, really internally. I have to just be honest. It's just been one of the biggest things that I've ever had to do, and it hasn't been easy. How do I teach it? How do I take it out there? How do I give it? How does it get its best shot for salons in the world? And often I do my research through Facebook groups. I go through and I have a look, how are people wanting to learn now? What's actually happening? And I'm actually really quite affronted by what I'm seeing. Talking about Australia, I'm talking about internationally. And even in countries that are really licensed, Gry, like full on licensed, very highly regulated. And I don't know about you, but are you like shocked a little bit about how the beauty professional actually believes that they can learn? Like, for example, with brows, people are putting up brows and saying, "Can you help me?" And they're asking other people to help them. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is just what has happened. What What has happened? Have I been
It was
sleeping?
a nightmare.
Have I been sleeping and I've just woken up like all of a sudden, like after like 20 years or something, and the world has just changed? Like I'm in complete shock. You know, and I run free masterclasses. I try and help the industry in any way that I can. But to really have a skill like what you were saying before about your salon in the country, you have to earn it. Like you have to invest in your skill and in a strategy so that you can become great at it. What happened?
You know what? I have been asking myself the same question because I think so I'm a huge skin nerd. And as you know, you may not know, but I used to do brows and I was very, very good at brows. It's featured in the top 5 brow artists in the country several times, and I loved it. And I made a really good mint doing it. But skin was always my passion. But I never really was given the chance to study or train or learn from anyone else when I was working for someone else. So I was like, you know what? That's okay. I'll do it on my own. So I would go to work Tuesday to Saturday. I used to work till 9 o'clock every night, Saturday till 4. And when I wasn't at work, I would be studying skin, searching on all of these Facebook groups that back then were all about science, not about, oh, just get this brand. It's become lazy. I think it's become really, really lazy. Everybody wants to take the shortcut. Everybody wants to take the 1 day course and not actually put the effort in. I remember asking someone back then. I was working on my own from home, and I was asking my supplier, and I was like, "How can I be like you? Like, when will I be as knowledgeable as in skin as you are?" And she just laughed at me, and she was like, "Great, I've been doing this for like 30 years. So when you've been doing this for 30 years, you see a lot of skins, then you'll know." And I was like, oh, damn it. But I think there's not enough resilience these days to actually want to put in the hard yards and to go, you know what, this feels a bit awkward and it feels like really stretchy and like I'm this is uncomfortable, but I'm going to push through because I know on the other side of this, I'm going to be the best there is. I don't see that very often anymore, which is really, really sad because I think there are so many people with so much potential and they're holding back and they're stopping themselves from reaching this amazing potential simply because they don't want to be uncomfortable. And that's just a real shame. And I think also as business owners, we have to take accountability too, because first of all, I see a lot of business owners who don't actually invest in their teams. And they think, well, I've got this person, she's fully qualified. So, I'm kind of good to go. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I get clinicians and they do training every single week. In actual fact, last week I said to my manager, I said, look, we're going to scale things back in the lead up to Christmas because we have spent so much time training every single week. They've got they want to hit their target so they can get a really nice bonus. I'm like, we need to scale things back a little bit and just like now, like really hone in on perfecting what we know. But I think this is what business owners need to realize is that training and learning and growth is not like okay, you've done this degree and now you're done. No, it is
Well,
ongoing.
I'm so happy you've said this. Let me share something with you.
Sure.
Because oh, love it when you speak my language. Let me,
Oh,
inside of TrueBrow, we don't give certifications anymore. I stopped that so many years ago. I've actually had people not come to TrueBrow and said, "Oh, I don't get a certificate." I said, "No." And they leave. "Oh, I want a certificate." Well, go somewhere else. I don't care.
what?
And I can tell you, I've never had one certificate on my wall, and none of my girls have had certificates. They do and have the greatest businesses that you can imagine with brows. The results are insane. So we have been brainwashed. Toby and I were going to do a full campaign about this called the Beauty Mindset Trap. Yeah, we really did. We even did a podcast, and for some reason I didn't put it out. I thought, oh, I won't put it out. I must have chickened out or something. I don't know. Yeah, it does happen. Our chickens out sometimes too. Anyway, but I must have just made, a decision that I wasn't going to put it out. But there is a beauty mindset trap that it's like we've been brainwashed to think that we can earn something like, and this is, I take this back again to the product companies, the machine companies that sell machines. Think about that. You get a machine, you get 3 hours of training, you might get 5 days, I don't care. Throw the numbers around. And all of a sudden you get a certificate. I don't want you to get a certificate. Actually, I don't want you to get a certificate. You shouldn't get a certificate. Because what does it mean? That you've just sat and listened and your brain half the time is wondering and you're thinking about something else? Like your brain doesn't learn like that. It doesn't learn. I can't teach TrueBrow in 2 days. I could do it. I could go out and just say to my educators, go 2 days, just teach them, take their money. I really could. But they're not going to learn. They're not going to be able to retain. So let me just take you to this interesting thing. If people come to us, one of the things that we do at TrueBrow is proficiency. So unless you're seeing a brow on TrueBrow on Facebook or on my profile of it's been approved, it doesn't mean it's a TrueBrow. It doesn't mean if some student goes and puts TrueBrow design and you look at it and you think, oh, wow, Al, this is terrible. Doesn't mean that student's got proficient, that she's done her masterclass, that she's finished her training, that she's had an assessment. She's just decided she's going to go and put something up. That's not actually, I'm not a police person. I'm not going to go around policing everybody's brows, right? But the interesting thing is that these proficiency levels we're brought in and the statuses are so brilliant and they're beautiful for the person that really wants to earn their business and their revenue and be rewarded for the results that they're actually yielding to their clients. So I just won't do it. And I have proficiency levels and I say you have to be proficient because no one, this is the honest truth, there is no one that's done TrueBrow and hasn't done their proficiency levels and left that can sustain the education. And I'll tell you why. It's got nothing to do with the education. It's got to do with you're in salon and you think you know what you're doing. And for the most part, you do, right? Because you've learnt it. But then all of a sudden you get really busy and you're looking at that brow and, oh my gosh, the phone's ringing or you're thinking about something you have to do and you do that brow differently. And then you repeat and then you repeat and you're not getting feedback. You're not getting someone on a live brow coaching class saying to you, oh, just bring that down a little bit. Oh, where were you standing? Oh, can you see how you've just gone off just a little bit? And you go, oh, wow, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Or you do a masterclass and someone's saying, oh, you didn't realize that you were doing that. No, oh, this is what's been going wrong with my brow. There is no way a beauty professional, it's like saying, we're the only industry in the whole world that doesn't need to be proficient or to because we're so special.
Continue to learn.
Oh no. Well, hang on a minute. We're women. Don't hate. Don't do hate speech. Don't do hate. Don't, you know how many times I've been here reading because I've been doing my research in these groups and don't do hate, whatever they call it. I don't even. I'm too old to even remember these terms. Something to do with hate speech or something. And I'm thinking that's just a fact. That's not hating someone when you're telling someone the truth. When does the truth become hate speech or something? I'm just like, oh, don't be a hater. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we've really just like lost our way. And I'm not saying everyone's like that, but we do have to speak about these things and not be afraid of backlashing. They might tell us that we're hate speaking or whatever it's called. But oh wow.
Whatever it's called.
Yeah.
You know what? That is so interesting because I think I've been thinking about this a lot and I talk about this with my team all the time and I'm like, hey, we need to be able to have tough conversations and robust conversations. And we need to be able to like disagree because if we never disagree, then we'll never come out with new things and better ways of doing things. It's like this is a skill, I think, because now it's like, oh no, oh, that's offensive. Or you give me some feedback. Oh no, just
I have to tell you, Gry, I can't agree more. Like a really beautiful woman once said to me when I was, my daughter was a teenager, my son, and I went to her and I wanted to understand how to be with them. And she said something so beautiful. I'll never forget some of the things that she said to me. She used to say the term that even if you don't agree with someone, it's really beautiful to say to them, thank you for sharing. I don't see it like that, but thank you for sharing. So it's really respecting that another person has another point of view. And the other thing that she said is that humans want to know they can survive the difficulty. It's not about, you don't come to this planet so that you don't have difficulty or that you can have everything you want. Like anyone that tells you you can have everything you want is crossing so many levels and is so confused, and you should shut it down. Sorry, I hope you haven't said that.
I am so I am so on board with this.
But
I'm
this,
so on
you
board with this.
I mean, some of these biggest names go around telling women. I just think, oh, you've just lost your way, and you want to actually mentor and help other women. Well, let me just help you for a little bit. Where are you going to put it? It's the most absurd statement. On a deeper level, it's 100% true. You can have everything that you want on a deeper level. On the surface, no one has that here, right?
No.
You can't in 1 week. Oh, I have this one woman. I keep telling, if I'm watching something, I keep saying less of this, less of this. These ads that keep coming up, and she keeps saying, "I found my husband, my brother, in 7 days." It's like, so, like, I think, what does that even mean? Like, could that not have been just some timing thing? And now you're going to say that you're going to teach someone else that everyone can do. I mean, we live in a world that is so lost and confused. And one of the most important things to do is discover how you can discern the voices you want to be listening to. And I really want to say that again, really discern the voices you want to be listening to, something that speaks to your heart, not your head. Because a lot of the time when you look at marketing, for example, marketing is always about what people want. That we always market to wants and desires. We never market to what people actually need, ever. That's a basic marketing rule, right? If someone doesn't know that in marketing, well, they're not paying attention. Why do we do that? Because people constantly want, but it doesn't mean that that's what they actually need. So whenever you're really, when you're looking for someone and you're looking for a voice, I think you have to really think a little bit more deeply. Think about what you need, not what you want. Because if you're actually in what you want, you're going to make so many mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
You really.
Yeah, I cannot agree with you anymore. And it's so relevant. And I think it's so relevant to what we're talking about, which is education. And I had this conversation literally today with my team. So you put a group of high performers in a room together. And so we've got a few new-ish team members on our team. As we sort of opened the second clinic, we had, we hired and
by the way.
thank you. Thanks. But we realized that we hire these people who are, hungry to learn, and we're like, yes, that's who we want, right? Of course, everybody wants that. But then it gets to a friction point where you realize that, hang on a minute, it feels to me like you might be a little bit overwhelmed or a little bit stretched or a little bit confused. But of course, I don't want to say that because, well, I want to prove that I want to learn. So there's this inability to have real honest conversations about what do we really want. And I said to my team this morning, I was like, guys, if we offer you training, like for me, that's a big thing because for me, that was something that I was never given. And so I really value training. It's my love language to give you as much training as you possibly could want because I want you to succeed and I want to empower you and enable you to do greater things than you thought was possible, right? But if you're sitting in the space where you're just taking it, but you're overwhelmed and you push too far in the growth zone, but you're not actually saying, hey, listen, like I just need to scale back and master this one thing before I can move on. How do I know? And it just comes back to, and I think this is important with education. There's this outside pressure to be a certain way or to act a certain way or to be this picture of like success. And these people are, wanting to portray that, but they don't have the courage to say, hey, you know what, I'm actually feeling a bit lost. And that's a real shame. And I really hope that as a profession and as just as people in general, as a generation, that this generation learns to have some really freaking hard conversations so that they can say, you know what, I love growing, but I feel really stressed at the moment. And like, I'm going to say no because I actually want to just like hone in on this one thing so I can become the master of this. That's my wish for this generation.
That's
Sorry
interesting.
if that went on a
No, I
tangent
love
there.
that. I love that. And I think it's relevant. And I think, we are as human beings, we are limited, we have these limitations because we feed them, we're never disempowered. That's an absurd thing. We are never disempowered, but only by our own limited beliefs and the things that we put in our way. And even limited beliefs is too much. It's kind of like, what do we find purposeful in our lives? It's very easy to feed the victim in us and then talk about that and go home and discuss that and then talk about it with our friends. It's harder to actually just say, what do I actually really need right now? Like right now, I need to be able to send a text because I'm not courageous enough to, excuse me, it's the Greek Air Force.
Oh,
You're just straight, two planes are straight. Not
wow.
courageous enough to energetically do it face to face. That's so understandable. But I really want to be able to send a text and say, I'm feeling a particular way. I have a need. Like no one else can really meet your core needs unless you identify them. And if you stop sitting with what you want and just go to that core need in your heart, like go a little deeper and just think, what do I need right now so that I can be more impactful, more productive, rather than going into the victim mode. And I'm not making fun of the victim mode. I'm in victim mode often throughout the day, and I notice and have a little bit of a giggle and think, oh, okay, that's interesting. And I realize I don't need it, right? I don't need to be in that space.
Yeah.
Um, and this is another learning too, Gry. When you're dealing with humans, we have to understand that there's an entire layer of learning that we haven't been given, that hasn't been given to humanity, and that humans have to actually seek it to find it. They have to be in that space where they think, whoa, I want something else. I want something different. I want to live my life differently. And then there's this entire uh, learning. It really should be called, life school. I actually think I did that once. I did think I ran a campaign about that. But to me, it really is like that. And that's why I love to teach that, because when people really start to learn how to live and how to not feed the fear, we think that fear is really important. We think overwhelm's even important sometimes. We feed that rather than just stopping it exactly by that reach out that you're talking about. That's what you're saying, is just, can you please just say it? But it's not that, I don't even know if it's them being courageous. It's just being sincere. Like, it is okay. It's not a weakness. In fact, your sincerity is your courage. Your sincerity is the thing that is your bravery. Your sincerity is the thing that we're all going, God, just tell us. We really want to know. We want to hear it. But I think, again, there's a little bit of brainwashing going on in this world where, if we reach out or we say something, we appear weak. And it's not even successful. I mean, that's up there, right? But we appear weak. It's actually a weakness to show that we're not coping. But what people don't know really is that people like you and I, when someone comes and says, I'm not coping, we're just like all heart. We're just like, whoa, what do I do now? Okay, come to me. Excellent. Thank you for telling me that. Now I'm about to help you. How do you need the help? What can I do better? Like, I think that is another layer that, that would be great to actually put into the salon, even as a, I think that a lot of the time we might be teaching people how to do skin, how to do better treatments, but really that whole sense of teaching them how to actually be in their own experience, and to be with a team and to be with a team leader. What does that look like? That's like just so significant and so important. But I want to go back to these beauty groups. Do you think that before these beauty groups existed, because we have had free beauty groups, right, on Facebook, that we were in a better place? Do you think people needed to, well, they had the options that they had for education were kind of probably a little bit more, well, they were just different, weren't they? Oh, I don't know what words to use.
So, would you say beauty groups? Do you mean organizations or like
Facebook groups that are beauty groups,
leaders? Leaders,
support,
yeah.
support groups. Like, I'm not saying that there's not support for people in there. I think that some of these groups do such great work. Really, if the leaders of these groups, the owners of these groups takes really special care, then I think these groups can be amazing. Like some of the stuff I read, I just think, oh, you darling woman, for just taking the moment to say this one little thing to this young girl. But I guess my question is so much, and I say education is happening in there. And I'm just a bit shocked to be. That's the sleepy owl that must have been sleeping and woke up and thought, oh my gosh, that's how people now.
It is out of control. I think it's out of control. I was kicked out of a couple of groups. Well, no, actually not a couple of groups, one group. I was kicked out of a group
Doubt?
because
What?
yeah,
Why?
I was because I highlighted just the toxic environment that was being created there. And I just felt like, and this comes back to, like you said, it starts with the leader, right? The leader of the group is who sets the tone. And I think there should be, in my opinion, how I learned the most as I was learning skin in all of these Facebook groups. I learned it from the groups that were just curious. Curiosity was just like a thing. It was just like expected. And the people who were obviously much more knowledgeable than I was, there was no ego. There was just like, oh yeah, let's talk about this ingredient or that ingredient. Yeah, so the molecular weight of hyaluronic acid is really important because this, how many Daltons do you want? So like I could go there and it was like a safe space where I could learn things and like question things without being, attacked every time. And I just think now it just seems like a sales pitch or buy my program for X, Y, and Z, my coaching program or my product or whatever it might be. And that's the affiliation. I don't think it should be like that. I've always had this opinion, and like I treat my own coaching business the same way. I have an Instagram account. I don't care about growing it. I don't care about getting clients from it. For me, it's like if I don't go on there for a week or 2 weeks, that's okay. All I want is for people to take some kind of value away from it whenever they do jump on or whenever I do jump on. It's not a grandstanding platform. It's not an ego thing, and it shouldn't be. I think this is where we got to figure out, okay, like how, first of all, what do we exist to give to other people? If it's just a sales thing, like that's cool. Just be open and honest about that. Hey, this is a sales group. Like I want you to enroll in my course, or I want you to buy my products, and that's it. If not, exist to give value. Exist, like whatever you put out there in the world, like exist to give people some kind of value so that they can go and do something great with it, so you can multiply value into others. I just think that we need to create this safe space for people to be curious, to ask questions, and to have different opinions, because ultimately that's what is going to grow our industry, our viewpoints, our learnings. Like, if you look back at the times through from like Kligman and all of those, we've changed how we view the skin. Like back in the days, it was like peel, peel, peel. Now it's like corneal therapy is a thing. And, now we're kind of starting to learn about the skin in different ways. So now we know that the top layers of the skin isn't necessarily dead. It's
Oh,
still
it's a living organism. It's like
it's
so
a living
important. My
issue.
God. Oh my God.
Exactly.
Hold
And
on.
so we don't just, like scrape it off. And so but all of these came from curiosity and discussions and like having disagreements. And, like to me, like that excites me. When we can have like difference of opinions and like discuss back and forth, that really excites me. To
Mm.
me, the most boring thing is to jump into a group and being told like, oh no, this is how it is and that's it. That's the only way. And I'm like, you're disempowering everybody in your group and you're not actually teaching anything because you're
Mm.
not teaching think for themselves. You're just telling
You know,
them this is.
yeah. I think that this is time for me to share something, actually. I haven't shared this before. I think people have to be very careful of groups and the who is leading the group. I remember there was one particular, it's a huge group in Australia, so big. It's probably one of the biggest. And
I'm laughing because I'm like, yeah,
and
go
I
on.
was actually told, well, my posts were always denied, even though I added so much value. But whenever I would put up a post, it wouldn't be, and that's not my problem. I don't. That's not how I actually got my clients. It was purely because I had value to add, and I was doing something, but they were never really put on. They were always sort of like pending, and then And I remember one day getting a message that if I gave now. I don't know what she knew about me, but at that stage, TrueBrow had really reached, it's really the height of its kind of success at that particular time. I got a message that I could post if I gave I gave her a good deal for her salon. Now, this is the leader of the owner of the group. And that was so distasteful to me. I just, I remember thinking to myself, um, no, because if she did that with me, if she did that with me, that's beautiful because my product is like amazing, right? Like I know that, right? So she'd be very lucky. But imagine if that's how brands were being, if she's using that group so that she could get deals for her salon, whatever it was. And I thought, is that like a truth, something true? Is it like a true way? So I guess why I'm sharing this is do not just be in groups and think that groups, as Gry was saying, have got an authenticity, an integrity behind them. You've got to use your wisdom. You've got to really use your wisdom. And you can explore. Don't let the groups take over your education. You can explore in these groups, like we were saying, and throw ideas around. And that's magical. What a beautiful thing to be able to do. But that's not where you get your education. Like I had a girl yesterday, I'm actually meeting with her, or the day before, say to me she's just left school and she's going on TikTok, and she did a little bit of brow design in school, which we know we don't get that much. She goes on TikTok and YouTube to learn how to brow map. Well, as far as I'm concerned, brow mapping is so outdated. As far as I'm concerned, I think please stop using that term because it's just another marketing term, right? And stop doing that. But I said to her, I was confused, and obviously she also uses the Facebook groups. What has happened to, I want to become a specialist because I know that's going to change my business and I have to work and earn it. And I need a company that's going to invest in me as much, more even than I'm going to invest in them. Whatever happened to that? So the groups have seemed to have just like fully confused. And these young girls, this is the thing that just, is it's difficult to bear it in a way, really, because it's these young, beautiful girls, whether they're in America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, anywhere in the world, that have fallen prey to this idea that groups are where you can become educated from other beauty professionals that a lot of the time don't even, they haven't actually fully learned it. Now, this is not to say that in these groups there isn't value. I'm not saying that. But just for your own sake, I think it's really important to go in and check out the group, check out the language, check out what's permitted, what's not. Is there brand bashing? I just think that this is another thing. I always say to people, stop asking people who have had their own personal experience, who might be, astrologically, sorry that I'm going to throw this in a really bad place. So they're going to have a really bad experience. And yet there's other people having the best experiences. Some people are in different times of their lives where everything they touch turns to dust because that's their learning. And even if they go to the best brand, the best product, it can't turn out right because they're learning a lesson. And you're going and asking that person, what did you think of that brand? Should I do? Well, oh no, it was terrible. I had a terrible experience. It's like, really? Like this brand bashing thing is insane. And to allow it to happen in a group, I mean, I just think that should be off the table.
I could not agree with you anymore. It is beyond me what is going on in some of these groups. I've literally stopped completely going onto any of them. And it's sad because, like I was saying before, I learned so much in these
How
groups.
much can you contribute, honestly, Gry? Imagine how much value you could contribute.
And this is the thing, I hear people say to me all the time, man, you always give, you always give your knowledge and you share your experience openly and honestly, because really that's what it's all about. It's not about me telling someone what to do. It's about me sharing my experience so they can take whatever learnings they want away from that, and I think this is the art that we've lost. Instead, it's now, well, I did this, so you must do this. Instead of, I did this, that worked for me, that didn't work. You take your own, use your own critical thinking and take what works, what doesn't work, take some learnings away from it. Maybe it might just be a small little tidbit of something that I did that you're like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't like that, doesn't work for me. And I think that's what we're missing, that little like critical thinking. And, I remember really distinctly a few years ago, a friend of mine who back then had a skin clinic, and she was saying to me, Gry, I really want to do our morning huddles the way that you do them. And I was like, yeah, I'll share the structure with you. And so I shared the structure, everything that was happening. And about like 4 or 5 weeks later, she's like, oh my God, Gry, my team bloody hate that thing. And I was like, what's going on? And she's like, and she had literally just taken it and said, well, this is what we're doing. And I was like, no, like you can't do that. You can't just transport one thing that works for me and transport it into your business with a whole different team, whole different people. Everything's different. Like the whole environment's different. The ecosystem is different.
I love it. That's just fantastic. But it's the same with experience. I was joking when I said I used the word astrology before, but I love Vedic astrology, me. The point is that one of the key things is that you cannot, this is where comparing even yourself to other people is insanity. It's actually, we're in our wrong-mindedness when we do that. We have to wake up, just like that, stop doing it, because everyone's here for a different reason. Everyone has got a different level of development, and everyone is going to experience something in their own unique way, because that is how they're so, like, the complexity of what makes up a human being and their nervous system and how they will react to something, and how it's mind-blowing. So to compare yourself to someone else, number one, is off the table. You have to stop doing that. To think that the industry is going, they're killing your industry, you have to stop thinking like that too. These are you need to find your tribe and huddle and actually get together and go, okay, we need some minds. And sometimes you can say great minds that actually think outside of the box, innovators. And you might want to say, okay, can we get you together? Because we want to brainstorm how we're going to get out of what we've been given right now. And you don't know what the beauty industry will turn into. It could be 1,000 times better than what it's like now. So this isn't the end. To me, I always see things as it's like sprouting, it's new branches, new opportunities, and it's that way of seeing this life that will actually help you to get through all of the rhythm of life, really, when you think about it. So what we're saying, I guess, and there was more things, but I can't remember them now. So what we're saying is we're not canning the groups. We need Facebook groups. Women need somewhere to come and to connect. And I'm going to speak to you about something because I've just had an idea as I've been sitting here talking to you and with you. But I think what we're saying is don't swap your education, darlings. Don't think you're going to get your education in there. You're going to get discussions in there. And I think what Gry was saying earlier, and she'll correct me if I'm wrong, is we don't need to take things personally. If everything that is spoken is taken personally, it's like an attack. It's experienced as an attack. Then what you're actually saying is, I don't want to learn, or I'm taking offense to things. And you have to really question that and be accountable for things that actually touch things in you, rather than just projecting it back out and getting into this whole space of, really not being able to have a real deep conversation that goes back and forth. I remember having conversations like this group right in the beginning of Brow Artists International, which was the first, that was our first, it was called Brow Artists International before it came TrueBrow. And I remember a woman in Canada who was a trainer in brows wanting to do the training. I didn't give it to her because I was protecting it back then a lot, because I really wanted to prove to the world. I wanted to find the women that were really going to take it to the nth degree, to be specialists. And I wasn't just going to give it out. And I certainly wasn't going to give it to another trainer, because that's absurd, right? Why would I do that? And on the Facebook group, she said to me, I can take it if I want. I remember just absolutely, I was just laughing my head off that she actually wrote these words. And I said, well, actually, really, you can't. I said, because this is an original teaching. It hasn't been, nothing's original. I said, well, it depends where in the universe you live when you say things like that, because it doesn't exist in the world anywhere. So actually, in fact, it is original for the world, But she was just at me to take it. She said, it's not stealing. I can have it. And I'm thinking, this is unbelievable, that someone would go. And I just kept chatting. I found it astonishing. And I kept communicating with her. I had so many women. I used to have this happen all the time, actually, contacting me and going, oh, how do you speak like that? How can you actually move through that and still get through? How do you do that without taking it personally? And I would just say, this is a real way of moving in the world. It doesn't matter what she says. Even if I found it absurd, which I did, I just thought, well, you're actually openly saying you're going to steal something that doesn't even, it's a plagiarism. It's like, why do you even want to admit that to the world?
Yeah. Yeah.
But look, it's been a fascinating journey. And I must admit, going back into the Facebook groups for me is my deep dive. Whenever I want to do a deep dive, I go straight in there, because I think, what is happening right now. And I have been a little bit sort of shocked, because I was aware of it years ago that it was starting, but the degree right now that it's at with lashes and brows, huge with brows. Forget about skin, with brows. I would like you girls, when you share your brow work on groups, to share it face forward. Stop doing these side brows that you keep sharing so we can't really see what the woman's face looks like. That's just the first point of call, right? I mean, that's the first thing, isn't it? Let's have a look at what does the woman's brow look like when she's walking around, No one does it except us. Everyone else just putting these side. There's so many things, and there's so much teaching to be done. And really, the industry wouldn't be bleeding so much if they had were specialized. This is another thing. you do need to have your specialists, and you need to be extremely good at growing teams. I know you're really good at doing that for people. I think that's really, really important. You need to know how to be with another human being and stop putting one thing, like Gry just said, and plonk it into a place that it doesn't belong. It's like getting someone's advice about a brow or skin or whatever and just like plonking it onto your client. Like you might as well just get a brow stencil and just like keep brow stenciling everyone's brow. Everyone's brow. It's a little bit like that, isn't it? Rather than actually specializing in something that you're so proud of because you've earned it, not because you've been given a certificate. Last thing I'm going to speak of is, because I think it's extremely important, and it hasn't got to do with skin, it has got to do with brows. And I think that we're in a bit of a crisis with brows right now. Really, I don't know if you're aware of it, because I don't know if you're aware, like I personally am, because of what I see around the world. So we're in a bit of a crisis. Well, it's not a bit of a crisis, we're in a huge crisis. So, we have these 5-day microblading training that's going on, especially in Australia. That's happening a lot, so unregulated. And I'm just getting people coming and just saying, I've just paid $10,000, Al, and I don't know what to do. I don't even know what to do. I've never done brows before. Like some people have never touched brows. This is how unregulated it is. And you see, this is why we TrueBrow. I've been going through I'm going to say it openly, through so much, trying to figure out how do I give this beautiful work to the industry and support these women from, not only the therapists that are giving out this money and then feel that they're compelled to do the work because they've paid so much money. They're so embarrassed they can't get their money back. Secondly, the other side of it is the client and what we're seeing on the faces of clients. I don't know if you're seeing what I'm seeing, but I'm seeing some pretty bad things. And I think, so for you, I mean, I had my brows tattooed when I was 24 and pregnant, and obviously I sort of kind of wasn't thinking straight in my 20s. And I think actually the woman that did it, she was beautiful. Gosh, she was gorgeous. And she kept saying to me, why do you want to do it? You don't even need it. Your brows are beautiful. And I'm saying, oh, just because I want something. I'm thinking, oh, you're crazy. Anyway, I'm still at the effect of that, like 35 years later. Anyway. But the point that I'm trying to make is that I'm not, there really is a crisis. And I would love to open that up more. For us to openly discuss that, because I know you love brows and I know you used to do brows. And so I'm actually going to invite you into TrueBrow on the side if you're up for it.
Cool.
And I would love, girls, what do you think if we get Gry to come in and she can just support Al to just get this teaching out somehow? Because I think that would be really good fun, because I think we do have a crisis that we need to support the industry in, because we've stepped into so many fads and I've heard things like people, trainers saying, oh, we know that microblading is essential. And I just think, when I hear things like that, I'm just like, immediately I'm thinking, wow, we've gone too far. We really have, and we're damaging a lot of faces that it's almost like we're not going to be able to come back from it because the damage is just so severe. And having said that, maybe I have to prove it. Well, I could, 1,000 times over. But I would love to invite you into that. What do you think, everyone? Should we just invite her in and see what she's got to tell us and what she thinks? And that'll be fun. Anyway, that's a question for after I stop recording. We will have the answer. But I think that we could do some things together. I think that I would really love to. I love the way you think, and I love the way that you just are. I love it. And I'm very picky, as you all well know. I have a very tight inner circle, and I love connecting with really wonderful women in the industry that can do, really support the girls that need the support, and they know they want it. They want it, they need it, they know they need it, they're just right there. asking for help. I think there's got to be another way.
You know, that industry is an amazing industry. It's an incredible part of the industry. So I think a lot of brow artists and lash artists, I'm sure. But speaking as a brow artist myself, and by any means, I was not, I didn't train at TrueBrow or anything like that. I was self-taught. I've got ADHD. I'm very particular with my symmetry, and but I think so many people sell themselves so short, and they just assume that being a brow artist, like you can't make a good you can't make good money, or you can't be a professional. Are you kidding me? Like, when I stopped doing brows, I kid you not, and the girls still tell me they still, after 4 years, they still get phone calls from people saying, "Hey, we saw you on an urban list, as the best brows in Melbourne, and want to book in with Gry." And they're like, "No, that's a long time ago."
Mm.
But I kid you not, I had so many people asking the girls at the front, could they come in and I just do their brows, $500 each session.
Yeah, they don't care, do they? They really
And
don't.
I do not care. It's about the value that you provide.
But the
And
result.
this is the thing I think that so many people have, just put in the work, become the expert, continuously train and modify and be curious and take all of that knowledge and tweak as you go along and be better and better and better and better and charge for it.
Mm.
Create a niche for yourself.
I agree. I think that having been in the brow industry now for 12 years and really understanding how the brow learns, the brow, that's funny, isn't it? We've got to laugh at Al then. The brain learns, the brow doesn't learn. That was
No.
wrong. Don't go thinking that that's true, girls. The brain really, I remember running my first 2-day class and master class with Brow Artists International. And at the end of it, I said to Toby, actually, I remember walking back from lunch and I said to my beautiful husband, gosh, he's wise. I'm walking back and I had this fear rise up in my body at the traffic lights. I can remember exactly where I was. And I said to him, I can't do this. I'm terrible at this. I can't do this. I don't think I can do this. This is ridiculous. And he just stayed silent. He didn't say a word. He didn't feed it. He just took my hand across the road and I never spoke those words ever again. And I just kept going. And this is the thing that, we all have this stuff that can rise up in us about anything. But then I went back into my master class and what I realized at the end of that class is, hang on a minute. I can't teach this amazing body of knowledge that is going to change the faces of women all around the world through the brow in 2 days. So I said to Toby, I can't do it like that. And he's probably thinking, my darling husband, oh no, not again. No, she wants me to go, figure out something else out, which it was true because I handed it to him and I said, what am I going to do? And we've been on weekly, most weeks, we have our breaks on live brow coaching classes where our students actually put their brows up on a Zoom like this, and we use tools to help them with their clients' brows, their salon clients' brows. And that is a continuous stream. They can have that for the entire time with TrueBrow. They just jump on, oh, I've got this brow, I don't know what to do with it, Al. And then there's other educators are on in America. Oh, these beautiful women. And they just give them advice on their current brows. And I realized this has been happening way before COVID. We've been doing this for 10 years, where we've actually got all these recorded classes of brows way back. And that is how we actually taught, and created some of the most, the world's top natural brow specialists, really, that have done some unbelievable things with their businesses. And I agree with you. It is about doing the work. It's not about shiny objects. It's not about getting a certificate, sticking it on your wall, and then you don't know how to do it. You don't have support, number one. And secondly, you're going to go get support in a Facebook group from people that still probably don't know how to do it themselves. Before you ask someone for support, ask them, how much are they making from their brow work? Can I see your brow work straight on, face forward? Don't give me a side version that you've angled and you've done fancy things with. Just a straight up, what does this woman look like after you've done her brows? All of these things are really important before we ask advice from people. It's like going to a mentor or a coach and not asking to see the results of the things that they've actually, you're just saying, oh, yeah, I'll just let you run my business for me. It doesn't make sense. So, girls, use your Facebook groups. Be intelligent with it and reasonable. But yes, so we will go into browser, won't we, Gry? I think I'm going to drag you in and see what you can.
No problem. As long as you can do mine, because
Of
there
course, I'm
are
coming to. Where are you? No, you're
non-existent.
up. You're up north. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a perfect TrueBrow specialist for you. Oh,
Send
yes,
them my
let's
way.
do that. Oh, definitely. Anyway,
Love
thank you everyone for listening. Gry and I could just talk for like a
it.
million
It's been
hours.
like an hour and a half.
I know. Toby's
It
going to be
happened.
thinking, why is Elle disappeared to? What did she do? It's been beautiful. I'm going to stop recording. I'm going to thank everyone for listening. I think we might have to do part 1, part 2, part 3 of this because it's very long, but it's been wonderful. Thank you, Grace, so much for your time.